Good afternoon, Year 5, and welcome to today's English lesson. So what I would like you to do, as usual, open up your English books for me, or your exercise books, write today's subject, the LO, which is to think from a character's point of view, or viewpoint, and today's date, Monday, the 18th of January. Now, what we are going to be doing today is we are going to be focusing on the second part of the poem, part 2 of The Highwayman. And I really want you to be thinking, like we did last week, about character feeling. So I want you to run through the poem, which I've attached onto the next few slides, or the second part of the poem, and I want you to think about each of these four characters and how they might be feeling throughout. So, for example, the highwayman, have a think about how he feels when he realizes that Bess is shot herself and is dead. How might he be feeling in that situation? So think about Bess, and when she's tied to the bed, so obviously she might be feeling quite scared because all these soldiers have tied her up. She also might be thinking about the highwayman and how to warn him that the soldiers are here. Think about Tim the Ostler as well. Now he's not in this section of the poem, but does he feel guilty about what he's done? Because obviously he's in love with Bess. Bess then gets shot. Does he maybe think that this is his fault? How does he feel? Is he guilty about it? Does he not really care? Have a little think about that. And the soldiers as well. How do you think they're feeling when they're tying up Bess and waiting for the highwayman? Do you think they feel guilty as well about it? Do you think they want to do it, or are they just following commands from what King George has said? Maybe they're scared of King George. Okay, so really have a little think about how you feel each of the characters are feeling. You don't have to write anything down, just have a little bit of a brainstorm in your head for me. What I'm going to do now is just run through the second part of the poem for you, so feel free again to pause, rewind, replay the video, okay, and really take your time when looking at this part of the poem. Okay. Okay, so hopefully you've had a little look at this part of the poem now, and you've had a little bit of think about how you think all the characters are feeling. So now what I want you to do, your first task today, is to create some hot seated questions. So focusing on this second part of the poem, The Highwayman, I want you to try and create 2 or 3 questions for each of the 4 characters during this section of the poem. So all of the highwayman, Bess, the soldiers, and Tim the Ostler. Try and think of some questions for each of the characters. You might want to ask about their feelings. You might want to ask, so for example, you might want to ask the highwayman, how did he feel when Bess got shot? You might ask him even, do you regret going away the night before because now this has all happened? Okay, maybe you could ask him, are you angry at Tim the Ostler for what he's done? All of these kind of questions, and I want you to create 2 or 3 for each of the characters. Now I put here, try to create open-ended questions. So what I mean by this is create questions where the answer is not simply just yes or no. Try and create questions where the answers can provide lots of explanations and a lot of talking. Okay, now we are going to be doing a hot seating session in our live lesson later on today. Now if you've not completed the consent form, then you cannot take part in our hot seating live lesson later. So what I want you to still do, I want you to create these questions still. Maybe create a couple of more because you're going to have a little bit more time to do this now. Because it's still really important that you're showing that you're thinking about the characters' feelings, etc. So have a go at that for me. Now our second task today, task 2, is to create hot seating answers. Okay, so what I want you to do is have a look at the questions that you've written, and I want you to answer the questions that you have created. Now, don't just give yes or no answers. So you might have created some questions that only provide yes or no answers. So for example, you might say to the highwayman, or let's say Tim the Ostler, do you feel guilty about what you have done? So the answer might be yes, but instead of just saying yes, add some explanation onto your answer. So say, yes, I feel guilty because, and then say because, or whatever you think. So you might say, because Bess got shot, I'm in love with Bess, so therefore I regret what I did and I feel really guilty because I wanted to spend my life with Bess. Okay, so add some explanation. You're not just giving yes or no answers for me, okay? Don't worry too much about this because I know you've got not too much time because we have our live lesson at 2 o'clock. So just have a little think, jot down some answers for me. If you've got plenty of time left, then go into lots of detail. That's brilliant, okay? And try and answer all your questions. If you can't answer all your questions, don't worry too much about it. We're going to go over it in our live lesson anyway later on. Okay, thank you very much, Year 5. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see most of you later on.